Okay, so we've got a whole bunch of open world stuff to do with Tony this time because this game only has 3 dungeons and 2 boss fights, so the pacing is a little bit awkward. Right after we completed the previous dungeon in the last video, weather machines started popping up all over the place, which is really convenient because we just learned what those were. The objective marker takes us to this elevator, I guess in case we were characters that can't fly, but since we can fly, there's no reason to bother with that. We can't just go to where the weather machine actually is, though, because the objective wouldn't trigger properly. The game has a habit of streamlining you even when you think you have a better idea of what to do, but most of the objectives are go here and kill this. So I suppose it's not all that unexpected. In order to stop the weather machine, we just have to blow it up, and I want you to keep this in mind for later. Also, the weather machines are surprisingly durable. But this is an ideal situation for Tony if I've ever seen one, because I've tried to do this mission with a character that focuses primarily on melee, and I kept falling off the damn building. And since now we can fire repulsor blasts out of both hands instead of just one, this should go a lot faster. I am again reminded of Iron Man on the PS3, a game I'm very fond of, though that game was a lot less repetitious, and it was also accused for being very repetitious. But even though I can definitely accuse people of playing that game incorrectly, you can't really accuse people of playing Disney Infinity incorrectly. It's pretty mindless.
Oh, that's how it's done. Why didn't I think of that? Yeesh. Color me embarrassed.
Winning is never overrated.
I want you to remember, if you can, that Wasp just saw us blow up that weather machine. Alright? Because that's going to be important to the story later. Now, something kind of neat about the game is that after the second dungeon, different characters give different kinds of missions. Wasp usually gives out missions about helping people, and Captain Marvel usually gives out missions about going places and punching stuff.
Bad news. Loki's captured the mayor and cast a spell on him. Now, the mayor's using the city's broadcast towers to praise Loki's reign. We need to get to those towers, shut them down, and keep the city's morale from dipping any lower.
I like this mission because it reminds me that this isn't a completely dead city without people in it, and that sometimes the people are affected by what Loki is doing, and you can even hear the mayor say, "All hail Loki," when you get close enough to the tower. The mission itself isn't that hard, we just have to destroy the 3 towers, which will take almost under a minute. It does bring the question why the Frost Giants exactly are cooperating with Loki, because that cutscene we saw in the previous dungeon established what Loki and MODOK want out of this. But the game never really gets around to talking about what the Frost Giants are doing and what they want. That seems kind of important to me, considering the Frost Giants aren't just generic bad guys.
Yep, that did the trick. Thanks. Now I can take the cotton out of my ears.
I can do that again if you weren't paying attention.
Hey, I could really use your help. I'm trying to evacuate some New Yorkers to a safer part of the city, but the Frost Giants keep attacking. Stop those icy instigators from attacking the citizens, and I'll owe you one.
I think you owe me several, considering you're just kind of sitting here not doing anything. But this is one of my favorite missions, or one of my favorite mission types rather, for reasons I'm sure will become obvious. As Tony, we can carry and fly with civilians, and we can also throw them around at will, like this. And the only thing we need to do to get them safe, so to speak, is make sure they land reasonably within the yellow objective marker, like this. So these missions are really fun for me, specifically because it's fun to fly up really high and then slam dunk civilians into the objective. Also, they're frozen before we grab them and we have to break the ice. I would worry about breaking their face when I break the ice, but apparently that's not a concern. Also, Wasp mentioned that the Frost Giants are agitated, and that's why they're attacking people. Why are they agitated? Are they agitated because we started hitting them? Why are they invading us? If Loki's mind-controlling them to invade us, then shouldn't we be helping them? Like we helped the mayor, instead of blowing them up? The Frost Giants are not generic bad guys, Disney Infinity. That was one of the most interesting things about the Thor film.
Awesome. Looks like we got everyone out. Thanks.
Oh yeah, I'm not hating this.
Let me know when you figure out how to disable the weather machine. I'm flying blind here. Unfortunately, turning these things off isn't as easy as unplugging them. They seem to be running on some sort of battery.
I would like to make a point now that earlier Wasp saw us destroy these weather machines, and she even commented on it. So it makes no sense for her to be confused about how to disable them. She even made a sarcastic remark implying that what we did was, you know, too brute. So why is she suddenly confused about how to deal with this? This is a mission where I again very much prefer to have Tony so I don't fall off the buildings. The weather machines are still very durable, and there are more of them this time. It's not really all that challenging to take them out with Tony, not just because of his special attack, but also because when we're flying, all we have to do is worry about gently bobbing left and right so the projectiles don't hit us. Also, we're almost done with all the enemy types this game has to offer. I think there's one more enemy type before the end, and it's a little weird. I feel like they could have had some AIM soldiers or scientists in here somewhere. I mean, it's not like the game is unaware of AIM. The weather machines and the drones are in AIM's colors, so I guess they just didn't have the budget. That's always something to consider. Especially with this game, it seems like it was made rather hastily. The playset, I mean. It seems like the playset was made rather hastily. Because the pacing is just all screwy. There are very few enemy types, and there's only 35 missions.
I'll let Captain Marvel know, and us girls will start powering down the machines on this side of town. Thanks. Careful. If I know MODOK, he's rigged the weather machines with high-tech booby traps. We shut down the towers, but the mayor's still a spellbound prisoner. Rescue the mayor and bring him to S.H.I.E.L.D.'s safe zone for deprogramming.
This mission has some obvious continuity with the previous one, and this time we need to actually save the mayor himself, instead of just shutting down his towers. The funny thing is that the mayor seemed really terrified of the Frost Giants when they appeared around him. I thought Loki mind-controlled him. Did he forget to mention that he had an army of Frost Giants? It would seem beneficial to mention that if you're going to mind-control the mayor, so that way the mayor doesn't try to resist them when they appear to do your bidding. I'm just saying. This is another mission where even if you're aware of the end goal, you can't really do anything outside the box. We can pick up the mayor and fly him around, and I intend to demonstrate that right now. Like this. But even if we fly him to the decommissioning truck or whatever it is, it won't matter. We have to do things in the order that the game suggests we do them, or rather demands we do them, and in this case the order is destroy all the Frost Giants methodically. I also wanted to show off that if we drop the mayor on a building, he actually teleports down to the bottom of the building. He's right over there to our right. It's really odd, but I guess they did that so you wouldn't lose him. Either way, this mission is not remarkable aside from the continuity with the previous mission. And it does go a lot faster because of our double repulsor blasts. But still, the entire point is just to eliminate all the Frost Giants and move the mayor from place to place. After we take him over to the decommissioning truck over here, more Frost Giants appear immediately, and I kind of have to wonder why the mayor isn't resisting Iron Man at all. Did the mind control not even do anything except make the mayor say one thing over and over?
You did it! Great! But I bet the mayor's going to have a doozy of a headache.
It's not about me. Okay, it is.
This is actually my favorite part of the game because of the variety of missions to choose from. You kind of have to do them all, but it is the most lively part of the game by far. I suppose that makes sense because it is directly in the middle. I know it's not the most remarkable game, but there is something about the game's relaxed, cartoony atmosphere and the ease of play that is really appealing to me. It feels a lot like playing with action figures, appropriately enough. That is, if you could actually lose action figure battles, and I'm not sure anyone's ever had an action figure battle that they lost, unless it was so the good guys could power up, just like in Power Rangers.
Wow, this is just great. Now Loki's captured members of the UN and hypnotized them to tell their countries to surrender. You know the drill. Find the captured UN members and bring them to S.H.I.E.L.D's safe zone for deprogramming.
This mission always cracks me up. I have a really hard time not laughing at the premise of this. Sure, kidnapping UN members and trying to tell them to get their nations to surrender is a good idea, I guess, even though I don't think the United Nations works that way. But why the fuck are the United Nations members just sitting around on the sidewalk? Wouldn't it be beneficial to have them more highly guarded, like indoors somewhere? Either way, this mission is literally the same as the last one where we rescue people, meaning we don't actually have to fight any frost giants. And we get to hurl people out of trucks, so I'm game for that.
And that's a wrap. Wow, look at you go. I guess practice makes perfect.
Well, now I'm even cooler. Thanks.
S.H.I.E.L.D. was so impressed with your motorcycle skills, they've agreed to give you access to their experimental sky cycle. You know how this works. Grab the sky cycle from the drop point and fly it back to Avengers Tower, then it's yours to keep.
I also find this mission to be humorous for very different reasons. The sky cycle is basically the ability to fly, but for characters that can't do that. So if you really wanted to play as Black Widow, Hawkeye, Hulk, or whoever else, now you can do that and still fly. The problem is that they give this to you halfway through the playset, and it's way too late to be leveling up new characters now. Unless you're planning to only play as that character for the rest of the playset, then it would probably be doable. I get that it's kind of an open world game and they want to establish a new equilibrium, and giving you new methods of movement is a way to do that, but all the other characters already have this method of movement without the cycle. So they really should have given you this from the start.
You can keep it, but you have to feed and walk it every day.
It was my pleasure, really.
Loki's frost giants and MODOK's drones are coming out of the woodwork. S.H.I.E.L.D's discovered a concentration and needs your help. Travel to the location of the Horde and bring them down. If we keep them thinned, we may just have a chance.
Like I said, Captain Marvel tends to give out the combat missions, and in this mission we just have to destroy 2 hordes of frost giants. Or rather, 2 waves. It's a very short mission. Kind of odd that it's so short since it's its own thing. It's especially easy with Iron Man because, again, we don't have to get close at all. We can just blast away. I contemplated switching to Thor for this mission, but we really don't need to, and we're going to be using Thor for something very important soon anyway. If you've noticed that my comments have focused less on the frost giants and more on other weird things about the game that aren't the combat, that's not unintentional. The combat does get really repetitive after you find your groove. We have Tony's 2 repulsor blasters, and we have Thor's, cheesy attack. So the game really isn't going to change too terribly much from this point. Also, you may have noticed that we're going in a very deliberate direction with the skill trees for Tony, just leveling up his repulsors over and over. You might think it would be beneficial to level up his special attack, but it already deals so much damage that feels like overkill.
Now that's 1 evil horde down. I'll tell Fury your mission was a success.
One thing's for sure. Frost giants are drawn to heat like mice to a cat. S.H.I.E.L.D's developed a portable heat generator that should weaken them in a localized area. We deployed one in the park, but it'll need some time to power on and begin generating heat. Protect the generator from frost giants until it comes online.
The music is very dramatic, and maybe that's appropriate because the missions where we have to defend the heat generators are the hardest in the game. It's not even a contest. They're so much more difficult than everything else. And I imagine it would be a lot less so if they were cooperative. But I don't have someone to play with. We're going to use Thor for these because Thor kills guys faster, and that's really the only reason. It is true that Tony doesn't get hit as much, but what we need to do is kill anything that comes anywhere near the heat generator really fast. And Thor's your guy for that. We're mostly going to focus on the larger frost giants because they deal quite a number on the machine. Unfortunately, that means the smaller frost giants will be able to gang up on it. But we can deal with those really quickly after we're done with the bigger guys. It's also beneficial not to forget about the drones, but we can dispatch those quickly, even quicker than the small frost giants with a throw of Thor's hammer. It's also a little bit stressful that Fury never shuts up whenever the generator takes damage, but it's pretty much impossible to stop the generator from taking damage. You just have to hope it doesn't take too much before the mission ends. And I wouldn't have been able to finish most of these missions as a kid because I wouldn't have had the strategic thinking capabilities necessary. And I doubt I could brute force my way through it. Because a couple of the later heat generator missions are even worse. 59 seconds may not seem like a long time, but it is a really long time. Especially when the enemies seem to get more aggressive as the timer goes down. And you may have forgotten about a couple of the drones, that doesn't help either. There's at least one heat generator mission I finished where the generator's health bar isn't even visible. I don't think it's this one, but that does happen. And there's not much you can do aside from the basic strategy I outlined of going for the larger guys first. Again, not forgetting about the drones helps. I forgot about them more than once, but going for the larger guys first is really the only thing you can do. Thankfully, there are no objects around, so our cheesing attack won't cause the game to crash, even if it does make the AI act really weird.
Frost giants damage the generator. That's in order. Nice and toasty. Hey, I think I can feel my fingers again.
The battle is won.
More citizens are being evacuated, and guess what? Our frost giant buds are up to their old tricks. Stop the frost giants from attacking our citizens as they evacuate.
So here's a mission we've already seen twice this video, and not much has changed since last time. There is a small aesthetic difference in the fact that there's a heat generator now. But aside from that heat generator, it's pretty much identical to the first time we did this. I contemplated skipping this mission entirely, but then I figured you should see it because of the addition of the heat generator. Either way, after this mission is done, there's going to be another unique mission with a cutscene after it, and then we will enter the third and final dungeon of the game. But that's not the end of the game, don't be mistaken. There's still a lot more to do after that, it's just that the climactic final battle lacks a dungeon to call its own.
And that's all of them. Thanks for the assist.
Bad news. Frost giants are using subway tunnels to sneak around the city, but now they've damaged one.
I'm not entirely sure how you could cause damage like that by accident. I know they didn't say it was by accident, but if they're using the subway tunnels to move around, it would have to be by accident, right? How do you make a giant ice wall like that completely accidentally? Either way, it's sad to say this mission isn't spectacularly original in execution. We just have to destroy all the frost giants again. but at the very least it offers a couple of unique cutscenes and a unique set piece. So that's got it a bit above the average Destroy All the Frost Giants mission, of which there are many.
Just above their location. Pound it in and stop them before the next train arrives. Just got word the train's headed your way, and the icy tracks are preventing it from stopping.
Got something?
Beams on either side of the track or load barrier. Take those out, and it'll make us a nice little bike ride.
You heard the man. Let's bring those beams down.
Take out the beams.
I'm not sure if this part of the mission has an actual time limit to it, but I try to complete it as fast as possible just in case. Either way, the goal here is to destroy all the Frost Giants and bring down the beams. We have to do this by destroying the ice. Only the destructible ice, though. You can't destroy indestructible ice for obvious reasons. This would probably be slightly easier and a lot faster if we had Thor, but I'm going to play as Tony because we're going to be using Thor again very shortly. And we're going to be using him again for the final boss, so he's going to have his time to shine. So it occurred to me, even if you did want to assume they intentionally blocked the train for some reason, I can't imagine why they would want to destroy a train full of people. Or why Loki would want that. I mean, it doesn't seem to affect his end goal at all. It might just make the Avengers really pissed. Now that the train is kind of maybe safe, we have to destroy the remaining Frost Giants, which just appeared here for some reason. Apparently they can just spawn wherever there are icicles. Is that how babies are made? Either way, it's a short, easy fight, and we are more than equipped to handle it. I wanted to see how long I could juggle that guy in the air, and the answer is apparently not very long at all. With this big chunk of open world missions out of the way, you better bet it's time for another dungeon next video. And it's a relatively short one because of Thor's ability to cheese every enemy. It doesn't even end in a boss like last time, because otherwise there would be no final boss. I did tell you there were only 2. I suppose the only thing left to do now is point out that the number on the side of this train says 1234.
I'll be honest with you. I was pretty sure that wasn't going to work.
Nice. This is just what I needed.